Hello, and welcome to the Focusing Way podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm your host, David Battistella. Our guest today is Vicki Peterson. For 26 years, Vicki has worked on the front lines in a 24/7 psychiatric crisis center in Boulder, Colorado. Whether it's over the phone or in person, she goes into work on a daily basis without a clue of what a voice might tell her over the phone or who might walk through the door in a crisis situation. Over time, Vicki learned nonviolent communication and focusing as tools that help her be present to the situations she faces on a daily basis in both her work life and also by using focusing as a way to be present in her home life as well. I invite you to listen in on our focusing-oriented conversation and hear some stories about how living in a focusing way has helped Vicki and her clients and her co-workers cope with the high stress of a crisis center.
We work in the emergency room a lot because they take people who are in psychiatric emergencies just to the hospital emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
And the medical personnel have training, for accidents, for illnesses, but not so much training for psychiatric. And I observe that there is a part of the medical personnel that does not like to be out of control. They like to do what they're good at, which we all like to do what we're good at. But the psych patients are kind of outside their training. And there's really strong parts of the medical personnel that don't want anything to do with them, that don't like them.
It's challenging.
It's really challenging, and they're kind of used to being able to save people's lives and being heroes. And that doesn't work out with the psychiatric patients.
Yeah.
But if they had some focusing training, then they might be able to hear those parts of themselves that are saying, I don't know what to do. That's not how I like to see myself. I'm feeling helpless. I'm feeling out of control. And that's a really scary feeling. Because that's what they act out.
Yeah, something in me just can't deal with this. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Right. And that's that feels really bad.
Yeah, that's then something hears that and feels that and perceives that, and then we're into a different sort of realm without having slowed down.
Yeah, that's right. And often even psychotic people, if you listen to them, you can kind of pick up themes that are interesting. A lot of people who are quite psychotic want to save the world in some way. They're doing rituals maybe that are going to head off some kind of worldwide destruction. It's really very touching. And if I can listen to that and then kind of feed back that I can see how good their intentions are, and that they're a person with a good heart, that really goes a long way toward starting a connection and making whatever has to happen next easier.
That sounds a lot like deep empathy.
Yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, if people who are medical people who are there in the emergency room had some more training in deep empathy, it would change the atmosphere.
And shouldn't that be what a hospital is? a place where you can feel safe and like somebody's hearing you and helping you deal with the crisis or trauma that you're living through in that moment.
I like your vision. That's not my experience working in the ER. I really like that vision. That would be ideal. It's such a healing practice, such a healing state of mind. And boy, does our world need that.
Yeah, I really feel that too. And we have the means to sort of put it out there, and I think we should.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm really hearing and appreciating how much focusing works in your day-to-day, but then in that critical sort of half hour after coming out of what I think most people would agree is a fairly high stress position, and finding those moments and places in you to come into contact with, resolve, be in relationship with, and sort of get on with your life.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, if I don't take some focusing time, those thoughts are likely, and feelings and body sensations are likely to go around and around and around. And I interpret that to mean they want to be heard. They want more space and more attention. But if I'm not focusing or in a focusing frame of mind, then they just keep repeating. And they take up a lot of time and energy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people listening could really be empathic about when thoughts are sort of racing around in circles. But just maybe since we got into that sort of realm of thinking, maybe you could just talk about how focusing is a body process. So what might start as a thought, we sort of come back to our body to sort of really listen to what's going on in us.
Yes, that is so true. It is right in the body. One of the classes that I took with Anne and then Jean Genland was about focusing in dreams. And so I do quite a bit of focusing with my dreams. And last week, I was working with my focusing partner and telling her the dream. And as I got to the end of the dream, my dream self had said, "Oh, let's just go for it." It was some exotic adventure. And as I told her that part of the dream, I started having trouble breathing. So a part of me got really anxious, even hearing that dream. And I actually couldn't breathe. So I needed to really spend some of my focusing session on that part that was afraid and was saying, "Don't take that risk. That's really dangerous. You're going to go off to some foreign place that you don't even know with a person you don't even like. That's a terrible idea." So that part had a lot to say.
Yeah, and it's so nice to hear how you can, as an experienced focuser and as an empowered focuser, you can start to recognize those things rather quickly, whether you're in a focusing session or whether you're sort of in your everyday life, and be able to be with it in such a way that it at least creates some space between us and those particular parts.
Yes. The really crucial thing is to shift into that self-in-presence space for me, and really be that space that's big enough to hold whatever is coming up with kindness and compassion and curiosity. And then the parts relax into that space.
Yeah. Well, you've shared some really interesting stories about how you've used focusing in your work. Are there any other stories or any ones that stand out, times when you said, wow, focusing was a great thing in your life or in your work?
It comes up really often. I had another call recently where a woman was saying, I don't understand my boyfriend. One day he's really loving and warm to me, and then the next day he won't even answer my texts and just pushes me away. And I don't understand. How can this be? What's happening? It's driving me crazy. But when I said, in a focusing way, could it be that there's a part of him that really wants to be in the relationship with you and values it so much? And then there's another part that's really scared of the intimacy and the closeness and the possibility of being hurt. And it was one of those aha moments. She just said, oh, that makes so much sense. And so then that let her kind of relax, and not have that feeling, this is driving me crazy, but have some, at least, hypothesis of what might be going on that made sense, that didn't make her crazy and didn't make him a bad person. Mm-hmm. So I use it in just those little ways, just a couple of minutes. I use that every day. Mm-hmm. And I just feel so grateful because it gives some tools for understanding situations and people that otherwise just, they seem like they're bad people or crazy people, or there's just no way to understand what's going on. Mm. And it's such a relief to have some understanding. Oh, that's it.
Yes, Vicki, you're really sharing the power of presence language and how much of an impact it can make in our own lives and to the people around us. Thank you so much for taking your time to share your focusing stories.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's wonderful to be able to talk to someone who understands focusing, and to know that people who are interested in focusing are going to be hearing this, because it is such a valuable part of my life.
Vicki Peterson, thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye, David.
You've been listening to the Focusing Way podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm your host, David Battistella.